Duel has come out with their win totals for every team in the Power Four conferences. Let's take our first look. This is not a prediction episode. This is not where I'm going to be saying I would be going over or under or not or staying away from that team's win totals for each school. But I'm going to give you my first blush. There's a few surprises out there. Give me your thoughts in the comment section below the video. Welcome to episode 370 of College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button. If you like our content, share the video with your family and friends. Again, win totals out here in middle of February. The numbers are going to change. Let's first take a look at the Big Ten. Over, under, what would you take in these Big Ten win totals? Purdue and Minnesota, my beloved Gophers, we're at the bottom. 4.5 of the win totals. Holy smokes! I do not remember that low of a number for my beloved Golden Gophers for many, many years. That is a low number. That hurts. The Indiana Hoosiers, 5.5. Illinois, 5.5. UCLA. Will that number change? Well, we'll see what happens here in the next 28 days where the players are in the transfer portal or can go into the transfer portal. We'll see who the new head coach hiring is. Michigan State, 5.5. Northwestern, 5.5. Rutgers, 5.5. Wisconsin, 6.5. Doesn't that seem a little low? Don't you think the Badgers will win 7 games this year? That is such an interesting number. Tyler Van Dyke, he's not getting much love. Not getting much love. Maryland, 7.5. Iowa Hawkeyes, 7.5. Interesting. Nebraska Cornhuskers. Now, the start of that schedule, they can be 7-0. First 7 games of the schedule. I think that 7.5 number is fair. I think that's a good number. Over or under. Washington Huskies, first year in the Big Ten, 7.5. I definitely would not go over. I might go under on that one. USC, 7.5. Penn State, 9.5. I'm not going to go over on the Nittany Lions. They bit me in the you-know-what last year. Michigan Wolverines taking a couple steps back this year, 9.5. That seems like a good number. Oregon and Ohio State at the top of the Big Ten, 10.5. That looks good to me. What do you guys think about those Big Ten win totals? FanDuel, February, middle of February. Here is the SEC. Vanderbilt, Mississippi State at the bottom. No surprise there. South Carolina, Beamer, still hasn't turned the corner. Is that a fair number? Florida, 5.5. I'm taking under. I'm sorry. I'm taking under on the Gators here in 2024. Arkansas transfer quarterback from Boise State, 5.5. Looks like a good number. Vandergrift, Kentucky, 6.5. Stoops gonna not get to 7 wins this year. Oklahoma, first year in the SEC, 7.5. Auburn, 7.5. They're not gonna win 8 games, are they? They're not going 8-4. So if I'm going to do anything with Auburn, I think I'm going under. Texas A&M, 8.5. Tennessee, 8.5. Ole Miss, 9.5. Missouri, 9.5. Yeah, that's a good over-under number on that. LSU, 9.5. Can't argue. Alabama, 9.5. Cannot argue with that. Texas, 10.5. Georgia, 10.5. The Texas Longhorns. Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, the 2 best quarterbacks, although I think Brady Cook's a real, and Jackson Dart, those are number 3 and 4 for the quarterbacks in the SEC. But Texas and Georgia, best 2 quarterbacks, 10.5, 10.5 each. I cannot argue with that. I'll put down your comments about the SEC win totals. The Big 12. The Big 12, going to be very competitive. It's going to be a wild race. Houston, 4.5. BYU, 4.5. Arizona State, 4.5. No surprise there. Colorado, Deion Sanders, 5.5. Inching up a little bit. The Cincinnati Bearcats, 5.5. I do like their new quarterback this year. The transfer from Indiana. Baylor, 5.5. West Virginia, 6.5. Gotta go over. Come on. What are we talking here? West Virginia, 6.5. Gotta take the over. TCU, 7.5. Oklahoma State, 7.5. Iowa State, 7.5. All looks good. UCF, 8.5. Woo! A lot of love. A lot of love from FanDuel. UCF, 8.5. The Red Raiders, 8.5. Kansas, 8.5. My. Things have changed in the last 5 years. The Kansas Jayhawks getting a win total of 8.5. Arizona. Wow. Arizona, 8.5. Utah, 9.5. Kansas State, 9.5. I've got no problem with those top 4. Top 5. I have no problems at all, but the West Virginia win total stands out to me. I would take over on that in a heartbeat. Put down your comments on the Big 12 numbers. The ACC. Now there's a couple here. Stanford, 3.5. Wake Forest, 4.5. Virginia, 4.5. Boston College, 4.5. I have no problem with that. Pittsburgh, 5.5. Georgia Tech, Rambling Wreck, I would go over on 5.5. Again, we'll be doing our official predictions a little bit later here in the spring, early summer, late spring, on the over and unders. But Georgia Tech, first blush, I'm going over 5.5. Syracuse, 6.5. Duke, 6.5. Sounds good to me, but California, 6.5. I would be going under. Under on that. Virginia Tech, they're coming. They are coming. They may have turned the corner. The Hokies, 7.5. SMU, 7.5. I'm going over. I'm going to the betting window, and I'm going to make them run out of paper on their machine. SMU, I'm going over. 7.5 is not a large enough number. North Carolina, 8.5. Looks good. North Carolina State, 8.5. Looks good. Jeff Brom, Louisville, second year, 8.5. I think they have a much better chance of winning 9 games than 8 games. I would go over on the Cardinals. Miami, 9.5. Seems a touch too high. The Seminoles and Clemson, both at 9.5. It looks good to me. So every conference win totals, teams in every conference, I had some disagreements there. Georgia Tech, over. SMU, over. Wisconsin, over. I don't know. But again, I probably will change my mind in another month or so. These are not my official predictions, just my first blush at these win totals. A few surprises. What are the surprises for you? Or does everything look good to you? Does FanDuel have it right? Will there be a 50-50 split on the money spent, on the money gambled, with every one of these win totals posted, over and under among these win totals? That's not going to happen. But that's what FanDuel is trying to get. They're trying to put out a number in which 50% goes over, 50% of the money goes under, so they get the juice. They make money no matter what happens. But some of those win totals, highly suspect. Highly suspect. Very interesting indeed. We're going to be following this, the win totals, as they change, and they will. As the money starts pouring in, we're going to be following this and all the other stories going on in the college football world. So stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.